going to ask Lucy if you wouldn't mind taking your mic off and putting your camera on, then everybody can meet you when I introduce you in a moment. There she is. Well done. So good evening, everybody. As I said just before, my name is Helen Humphreys and I'm the head of geography here at Esher College. I'm one of 5 geography teachers in the department, and I'm joined tonight by one of our students, Lucy Tendler, who is a second-year student here at Esher. She was at Thamesmead School before that, and she is intending to study geography at university, and we thought that she'd be a really good person for you to get the story right from the horse's mouth in terms of what it's like to be a student in our department. I have a short presentation for you, just to kind of give you a sense of what we do here in the A-level geography course. And whilst I'm just going through that, you might wish to put any questions that come up from the presentation, or you already have about geography, in the chat bar, and then we can answer those for you, and it could be myself or Lucy who would do that. So you'll see on my presentation slide that the big joke about geography and geography teachers is that we like to colour in maps, and yes we do love a bit of colouring in maps, and we also like a little bit of physical geography, and Oxbow Lakes being something that I bet your mums and dads will remember from when they did geography at school. But our A-level course is much more than that. It's a very up-to-date course, very in the moment, and I'll just give you a little bit of a sense of both who we are and what that course is about. Lucy, you can let me know whether this is moving forward, if that's okay. You'll be my technical advisor. So is that moving across?
Yeah, it's all good.
Yes, great, thank you. Okay, so this is my rose gallery of my colleagues at the department. Is myself and Alex, Catherine, Liz and John, and we are a close-knit team of teachers, all very passionate about our subjects. Some of us with different responsibilities as well outside geography, but when you come to do geography here, you will have one of us teaching you. It's more likely than not in the first year. Our course is the Pearson EdXL course, and you can see from this slide that we have there's 8 topics that we study. 2 of them are sort of a selection choice, but we look at tectonics, which you'll know from GCSE, and coasts. We look at globalisation and regeneration. We also study the water cycle and water insecurity, something that is increasingly, in the news, particularly our summer this year. We had a very dry summer, didn't we? The carbon cycle and energy security, again, very of the moment, and the kind of energy crisis that we're in at the moment with the Ukraine war and the price of energy going up. We then also look at geopolitics. We look at some superpower work, and we also broaden it out a little bit in the second year. We do some development geography and look at human rights and interventions, and look at whether it's right for, or how states help each other, both militarily but also through aid and that sort of thing. So it's a very diverse but quite an interesting and sort of modern course. An example of what we do is one of our favourite photographs. We look at globalisation, the idea of the impact of us being more and more connected in places. And every topic that we have is divided into inquiry questions, and these are the questions that we'll be asking students to be able to answer by the end of their course. And this is something that we study in the first year. It kind of makes quite a good bridge between the GCSE and the A-level. If you do A-level geography for Pearson, you are assessed in 4 different ways: 3 exam papers and a piece of coursework. And that coursework is a really good way to, investigate a part of geography that you yourself are really passionate about. And I'm just going to ask Lucy about her coursework, because she did a really interesting local study. Do you want to give us a little bit of a flavour? Lucy, do you want to give us a little bit of flavour of what your coursework was?
Yeah, of course. I live in Shepperton, so at the minute there's a development going on, or a regeneration of the local Shepperton studios, which is a big part of the area, and it brings in a lot of tourism as well as businesses. So I looked at how the perception of that varies with distance, as to whether how close people live to the studios, whether they view it as more of a positive thing versus people who live further away. There it is. That's my coursework.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, so that idea of regeneration is very popular amongst our students, because obviously many of them live within areas where there's been some decline, and areas have been rebuilt and regenerated. So many of them do a regeneration study. We do field work, of course. You have to do 4 days of field work as a compulsory part of your A-level geography. 3 of those days are organised by the college. Could be coast, could be urban, could be local work on water and carbon. This is our most recent trip to East and West Wittering, where we went in fact 3 or 4 weeks ago, actually, just before half term. And also we run and are reinstating a residential geography trip in the July time of the first year in what we call our wider skills week. So, and that's not a compulsory part of the course, that's optional for students to go on, but we will be setting that up again this year. Previously it's been in the abroad, but we're looking to do something in the UK this year, to try to get us back into the swing of sort of residential fieldwork post-COVID. These are some examples of the work that our students have done on their NEA. So obviously Lucy's done her work on Shepperton Studios and the impact that's had on the local area. We have students who are really interested in the impact of green space, particularly when you look in urban areas. People's response to COVID in terms of their shopping habits. We've also got people, students who are very interested in the impact of globalisation and climate change and how that changes people's behaviours in terms of their shopping patterns or their diets. And we also have our traditional physical geographers who like to go down to the beach and measure pebbles and look at beach profiles, as well as studying how much carbon there is stored in local parks and trees and that sort of thing. So I'm going to move now to the chat bar because I think we've got lots of lovely questions from you guys, and I'm going to read the questions out and then either I will answer them or Lucy will be able to answer them for us. Okay, so what topics do you focus on in year 1? That's from Megan, thank you. So Megan and everybody, in the first year we start with the water cycle and water insecurity, and then we move into the carbon cycle and energy, and we think that makes a really good start because those two are examined together in your final examination, but also some of the principles in that are very similar across the two topics, but also very of the moment, you know, the conflicts that can exist over water sources and, you know, energy and how we get reliable supplies of energy, what stops energy from getting from supplier to producer. You know, we're bringing in the example of the war in Ukraine at the moment and the risk of, you know, fossil fuels being cut off from those suppliers. And then in the second term of the first year, we study globalisation, and then we do some work on regeneration. So we look at rural and urban areas that have gone into decline and how they can be regenerated through big projects, but also small community type projects. And then in the summer term of the first year, we do quite a lot of field work, practicing fieldwork skills, and then you would go off and do your own piece of investigation into whatever it is you choose to do. You know, you might have a real interest in carbon and water, you might have an interest in measuring sand dunes along the coast. That's your choice, and you set that piece of coursework up, and the maximum amount of marks you can get from your exam is 20%, so you are then able to put that towards your final grade in the summer of the second year. Is there a lot of essay writing in geography A-level? That's from Matthias. There is quite a lot. Lucy, what would you say to that?
There are, but it kind of depends on what you're studying at the minute. So like with what we're doing at the minute, well, with superpowers that we did, there's only up to a 12 marker, which is the biggest essay that you do at GCSE, versus other ones, they can go up to 20 markers, but they're sort of varied throughout the course, so it doesn't all hit you in one go.
Yeah, so it is an exam that is assessed through extended writing, and you know, but we do teach you how to build up from smaller answers that you've done at GCSE to those longer kind of evaluative questions that you do at A-level. So we do teach you those skills. We've got a question from Robert about, on average, how many students are there in each class? The maximum number of students that we can have is 22, but usually classes are between 15 and 18 students. We have 7 classes in the first year. We have just about approximately 130 students in the first year and 115 students in the second year. So, you know, that's the typical number that we would have. Is there any recommended summer reading for those who didn't do GCSE geography? Oh, that's an interesting question. Well, you don't have to do GCSE geography to do our A-level, so we welcome anybody who's just got a keen interest in geography itself. We do set you an assignment over the summer holidays, which is more about your kind of geography story, we call it, you know, what brings you to want to study geography with us here at East Sixth Form. But we also do send out at the end of year 11 some study type packs with recommended reading, and one of the benefits of being a student here is that you become a member of the Royal Geographical Society, who have lots of online resources and online lectures that once you are a member you can tap into. But you could be reading things like Geographical, which is a magazine that you can get you know, off the shelf in a WH Smith, that sort of thing. You could be, as well, you know, it's keeping up to date with current affairs almost, you know, regularly reading the news, BBC, The Guardian, that sort of thing would stand you in good stead for the start of your course. So thank you for that question. That's Jacob. Julia, how do you help students adjust to essay writing? We build up the skills gradually. So in the first year, we start them off with shorter questions. They explain command words. The command words are the words that the exam would set, so explain, assess, evaluate, that sort of thing. We start them on the sort of the lower scoring command word questions, and then we build up their skills by modelling to them how to construct a, you know, an evaluative essay by showing them good examples. We do feedback after every piece of, we call it core writing, so core questions that students do. They get a chance to reflect on their answer to a good, you know, a top quality answer and see what might be missing. They recognise the characteristics of the good answer, and then they apply that to their own answer by improving what they've done. So we build those skills up gradually as they go through, and obviously our aim is that in a 2-year course that they would peak at the end of that course, you know, and they're learning the skills as they go through. Robert again, is there a geography field trip based on the course? Yes, there is. Obviously we have day trips in both first and second year, and then we have the optional residential trip at the end of the first year. We are slightly out of sync with our field trips, to be honest, because of the pandemic, and we are just starting to get those field trips back to where they were pre-pandemic levels. Geography grade average for the A-level students, that's a good question. So last year our pass rate was 100%. We had 64% of our students got A star, A or B, which is, you know, good comparative to other benchmarks. And on average, the score of the 120, I think who took their course, the average score was a B grade on average. We take the mean, but we obviously 64% of those students got the A star, A and B, and we had 16 of our students got A stars last year. Right, Lucy, you could answer this one. It's a question from Donna. With the fieldwork, do you get to choose where you'd like to study and what you would want to study, or is it set for you?
With the coursework?
Well, yeah, so we do set some field, but we take them to the East Wittering, West Wittering, or, you know, we're going into London to look at urban. But in terms of your coursework, how is that set up?
Yeah, you can choose whatever you really want to, so long as it's with the parameters. So you'd either choose physical or human geography, and then you'd just go into study something that you're more interested in, and something local ideally, or something further away, just something that you're going to be interested in and have the passion for.
Yeah, so we have, of all the students that we have in the current and second year, every single one of them has done an individual project based on an area of geography of their own interest. And when you're doing an individual project like that, that's the best way to do it, we've found, because, you know, you lose interest if it's kind of imposed on you. We do take them to pre-arranged field work where we're teaching students the skills to collect data or to do questionnaires, that sort of thing, with them the intention that they will use those skills in their own study when they come to do it independently in the summer term. What grade do you need in GCSE geography? If you do GCSE geography, you need a grade 4 to join us. You do not need to do GCSE geography, but we would ask that you have really, you know, you can evidence a good interest, and obviously you need your 4s in English and maths to do that. A lot of our students, we have a range of students who do geography here from grade 4 all the way up to to grade 9. How large are the classes? The classes are 20, as I said before, 22, but usually about 15 to 16. Just looking through these questions. Pass rate, I hope that's answered your question about the pass rate. And what university courses from Megan would you recommend looking into with geography as a base? Oh, a range of things really. You could do pure geography. This year we had approximately 30 of our students went on to some sort of geography related course. That would be geography or human geography, combined human and physical geography. We've had students go on to do international relations. There's a question further about economics. Geography and economics go really well together. We have had a student this year gone on, in fact, 2 students have gone on to do geography and economics at university. Any kind of conservation, environmental science course, geography goes really well with. And there's a range of things that you can do, you know, geography at university with, or, you know, if you're doing biology, chemistry, geography, you can go in various directions for that. Does ESHA provide textbooks, or do you need to buy them? Currently, you need to buy them, but we also provide an online textbook that you don't need to buy. So we have a recommended course text, but we also have online books that you can use, and we have books in the library that you can borrow as well. Cassie's question, Lucy, you're thinking of doing geography at university. Have you got any sense of what career you might go to?
I would love to be a volcanologist. I just think that would be really cool to be able to travel the world and study the world's volcanoes, to be able to, well, warn people if they are going to erupt, or just see how the land changes. But also sustainability is a really massive focus of most companies at the minute. So almost every company out there has a team dedicated to sustainability, and a degree in geography is always really helpful in that.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that we offer in our second year for anyone who's interested in doing geography at university, or actually we have students who aren't doing geography who just want to find out about it, is we run a course called Geographical Information Systems, which is you know, the using data, mapping data basically to look at patterns of behaviours or patterns of health, patterns of economic activity. And many businesses use GIS systems nowadays. So, you know, we hope that we give our students a little bit of an added extra when they go into their university courses, because many geography courses are using that kind of information and data as to help them as businesses run. Which other subjects would complement geography A-level? That would be a range of subjects, actually. We have students who do. Lucy, what are your other subjects?
I take biology and psychology.
So biology, psychology, geography, common, that's a, you know, popular combination. Maths, economics and geography, geography, biology, chemistry, psychology, business, geography. We have students who combine geography with art and other subjects, and design. We've got quite a few doing design with geography. It's one of those subjects that can complement, you know, the sciences, particularly all the humanities, geography, history and English, is a combination that we have as well, but can also be that third subject that you might really enjoy at school that you want to carry on with. Do you need to pay for the Royal Geographical Society subscription? No, that is part of you being here. We pay that as an institution. So you become a member of the RGS for the 2 years that you are here, and you can go to their lectures. They put free lectures on for school, you know, for school students. You can go online and listen to their pre-recorded or their old recorded, you know, lectures. You can access their resources. They have an amazing careers section as well in terms of jobs that you can do with geography. Here's a good question, Sarah. In general, do people enjoy the field work, or is it the worst part? What do you reckon, Lucy?
In general, it's always is good fun, because you just get to sort of, well, we went down to the beach for the day, had a look at some pebbles and measured some sand dunes. I'm guessing that's going to be weather dependent. I'm sure the people who went when it was blasting a gale force wind probably weren't too pleased. But no, overall it is good fun, because you just basically get to hang out at the beach with your friends and just have a look at the geography around you.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because you're right, weather dependent, but it's something that people remember most about their field trips. Their geography course, I suppose, are the field trips that you go on. You know, you don't necessarily remember every lesson, but you will remember going down and out with your friends, doing a bit of investigation. And also the skills that you learn from your own investigation, your coursework, are really quite good, that you can take to, you know, other aspects of your learning and also to university. A question from Elliot: do you cover Indigenous sovereignty, the land back movement, etc., within the environmental aspects of the course? Not specifically, but we do some stuff in globalization about resource nationalism and the protection of resources from, you know, overexploitation by transnational corporations. We do some work on, when we look at health and human rights, we do some work on Indigenous people and the human rights issues that that they face in particular areas. So for sure, we do incorporate some of those ideas in our teaching. What area is the hardest topic? Ooh, good question. What do you reckon, Lucy? What's been the hardest to master?
For me, it's more things like water and carbon cycle, but that's just because I personally prefer the human aspect, and also it's a lot of words that you have to remember the very, very, very specific detail of, but that's just me.
Yeah, potentially those topics where there's a lot of technical terms. So the carbon cycle and the level at which we go into it is, you know, it's quite new and it's quite technical. So maybe those are quite tricky. Some of the work in regeneration, looking at different perspectives and attitudes, it can be sometimes hard to sort of pin those down to unless you're using case studies. But we try to make it as accessible as possible by the information we give you and the activities that we expect you to complete. And we have a clinic that we run that gets increasingly busy as we get towards exam time. That students can kind of pop in and have, you know, talked about homework and that sort of thing. What percentage of the curriculum is comprised of human topics? Approximately half. You know, there are two exam papers. One is a human geography paper, one is a physical geography paper, and the third paper is a combination. It's called a synoptic paper, and that is where you have to kind of see the links between the carbon and the water cycle, tectonic activity, globalization, and superpower. And there's lots of overlap in the aspects that we teach of those 5 topics, and you're given it's a bit like a big geographical comprehension to do in an exam, lots of data to analyse and evaluate. And you know, if you like looking at maps, picking up trends, that sort of thing, that's the kind of paper that tests those skills. Do Isha College supply students with laptops, iPads, or do we need to buy one? We don't supply you with laptops or iPads, and most students, I would say not most students, but quite a lot of students do bring their own. Some students work directly with an iPad pen on the iPad, make their notes that way. Some students work through a laptop. Lucy, you have a laptop, yes?
I use an iPad, but yeah, so I quite often make my notes with an Apple Pencil just so that it's all in one place.
Yeah, so it's a preference really. We supply paper-based resources, but we also have them electronic, and there is a portal where all our lessons are placed. So if you've missed something in a lesson, you can go into the portal and pick out, find what you need and add it to your notes. How much can teachers help you with your NEA? Good question. It is an independent piece of study, but we give as much guidance as we can, basically, and we give you quite a lot of guidance up front in terms of thinking of your question and being very clear. We share the mark scheme with you, so you know exactly what you need to do to get the higher level of marks. We take your work in at regular intervals, and we give you some feedback, and then that's then your decision whether you work on that feedback or not, because that's the only time that section of your work will get seen before you give the final piece in. And all our first years gave their work in September. So and the feedback, the gradual feedback, helps them keep on track and make sure that a complete piece of work is given at the end. Does geography offer any work experience? That's an interesting question. At the moment, no, in terms of actually physically going somewhere, but what we do try to do is bring in people who are either at university studying geography or have a job that might be related to geography. We're trying to increase our offer there, and one of the things we're doing the GIS course that I mentioned earlier, is we are going to have somebody coming to talk to students about how they use that in their everyday work. But all students here at Esher College are encouraged to do work experience, and in the summer term they get 3 days where they can either organise their own work experience, or this year we did, it's called 8 billion ideas. Am I right, Lucy? 8 billion.
Yeah.
Did you do that one?
I did, yeah.
Was it any good?
Yeah, it was all right. It's an online thing, so you can work from home, so that's always a bonus. And then you just get put in a group of people that are in your year group and get set a few tasks to do over the few days where you hand it in, and by the end of it you get a little certificate so that you can then put that on your personal statement or CV just to prove that you've done it.
Yeah, so we try to give everybody the option, and obviously work experience is increasingly important. And what we have here, which I think is a real bonus, particularly if you're a mum and dad listening here as well, is we have we have very good progression guidance in terms of what to do next when you leave here at Esher Sixth Form. We have a database called Unifrog where you can put in your preferred options of subject and what you might want to study, and it will bring up every single course in the country and abroad if you want to, where you might be able to study your chosen university choice, or it also does the same thing for things like apprenticeships. So we have a lot of support through both the tutorial system and the sort of careers progression guidance department as well for your next steps. I'm hoping that we've covered everything. Oh, this one here. What is the highest mark an essay question you can get? On the paper 3, the highest mark is 24. There's a question on there that's worth 24, and the whole paper's after 70. So one question is worth 24 marks, and that's an evaluative question. But it goes down to as low as 3 marks as well. So there's a whole range of questions. Do the students usually look forward to geography lessons? I hope they do, but Lucy, do you look forward to your geography lessons?
I do, just because it's taught in such a different way to a lot of other subjects. So in a lot of subjects, you walk in, you get given a PowerPoint, you write notes, you then have to revise those notes, and then you leave. Whereas geography is a lot more discussion based, where you're shown, say, a picture or a map, but then you have to kind of think about what that map's showing, why that's showing it, what other factors may be implicating that, rather than just being told every answer and writing it all down. It's just more engaging.
I think that might answer your final question, Sam. Are they engaging and fun? We hope so, for sure. I mean, obviously we've got to get through the content, but we try to do a variety of things that make it interesting, and we have high expectations of the amount you have to work outside of the lesson, but also we try and make those lessons engaging and discursive in terms of talking about the issues, because we talk about a lot of issues that are obviously very relevant to your lives in the future and what's going on in the country. Is there much overlap with GCSE? There's some, but it's not so much overlap as the GCSE provides the foundation for you to build on. So in water, for example, there is you're building on the knowledge that you've got at GCSE and taking that further forward with looking at things like water conflicts and transboundary water and rivers that flow over national boundaries and that sort of thing. Hoping that might have answered everyone's question. Are there any other questions you've got? Well, can I say thank you very much for your attention, and if you have any further questions that you would like answered, you can always, I'll just show you mine. I've got an email actually at the end of this. I'm going to just whiz through a couple of things. Hold on. Oh, you can follow us on Twitter. That was what I was going to say. We have a geography Twitter account at EsherJog. You can follow us on there, but also you can email myself, that's hhumphrys@Esher, or marketing@Esher and admissions@Esher if you have any further questions from tonight. So thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the evening.